Hello, my Crystal Loves Texas Facebook and YouTube family. I hope everybody is doing well tonight. Here with me, as usual, as always, is my trusted co host, Rebecca Williams.
Hi.
Hey, Rebecca, how's everything going?
Everything is going.
It's been a week, Rebecca. I'm telling you, it has been quite a week, a busy week at that.
Yes.
And I'm not even sure how to put it into context. But wow, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind. Had a great meeting yesterday with a group of teachers over at Fort Bend, American Federation of Teachers.
Oh, my
Yes.
favorite people of all
Yes,
time.
yes, yes. We're going to get Derek, the president, on here very soon. He wants to come on and lend his opinion and his um, outlook to some of the things that are going on right now, especially with teachers. Teachers. Rebecca just told me something before we came on today. I didn't know this, but I'm going to tell you this. There are going to be some things coming down the pipe in this city, in Houston, that we may need to prepare for. Okay, I'll just leave it like that. But Rebecca, I'll tell you, it's not necessarily a great thing, but you know what? Sometimes you got to learn how to make a shift in life, right?
Yeah, that sounded kind of callous though.
Well, you got to learn how to make a shift. I did. I hope it wasn't callous when I made it, but I knew that I had to look out for Crystal.
Yeah, definitely.
But we've got an interesting title to our broadcast tonight, to our podcast, and it is, "Are we greater yet?" So, America, Houston, District 131, are we teachers? Are we greater yet?
And before we get started, we gotta talk about Crystal's branding. Crystal, you are now on
Facebook as well as YouTube.
Yay.
So please go over and like me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube. You will be seeing a lot more lives from me as we go forward. Don't want to push a whole lot out there really, really fast, but because I want you to remember it. But we've got some radio interviews coming up. We've got
more podcasts.
Yes, more podcast interviews coming up. Because
not just hers.
because not just mine. But guys, I really want you to know who I am. I want you to know what I stand for. I want you to know what I believe in. And I want you to know and see what I do on a day-to-day basis. Okay? So please stay tuned for that. But Rebecca, before we get started, well, as we get started tonight, there was a reason why I entitled this particular episode, "Are We Greater Yet?" There's some things that are going on in the United States that, man, I'm not even sure how to phrase it.
I know.
And Rebecca, let's kind of start from the top, because just this week we've been hit with a couple of left hooks. And what's at the top of that list that we got there that we want to speak about?
SNAP benefits.
Well, you know what? Let's start at the beginning. The government shutdown.
Okay.
Which catapulted into
the SNAP benefits.
The SNAP benefits. Guys, let me say this. Any type of infighting that we ever have had in this country since World War II, when SNAP benefit, when food aid and food stamps first came into play, since Franklin Delano Roosevelt, we've never had a situation where the very existence of Americans was placed on the bargaining table, when you remove SNAP benefits, when SNAP benefits are taken away, that means babies don't eat, they don't have
Right.
formula, they don't have cereal, they don't have milk, they don't have everything. Little kids, they don't have the things that they need to take their lunches to school. If they take their lunches to school, what is mom gonna cook when she gets home, from work? And yes, a very high percent, 80% of the people on 80+% of people on food assistance, and Rebecca's gonna get the exact number. They work full time. So these aren't people who are just sitting, waiting for a check to come.
So 87%,
Yeah,
87% of people that are on SNAP benefits
yes,
are working people.
absolutely, absolutely.
They just work low wage jobs
That-
for
that's
the most part.
That's right. And a lot of times, we've had situations whereby it's been touted to people that education is not important. It's not important. Well, you hate to see someone in a position where they are the result of not being able to
Right.
finish their education. And a lot of times, our people who have to take advantage of different programs that are government programs, that are really life-saving programs, have not been able to further their education for one reason or another. And, SNAP is one of those things. So, Rebecca, I think if I am correct, is it tomorrow, which is November 1st,
Which is November.
November 1st, SNAP benefits will run out. So food
Wait.
pantries. Yes.
There has been
A
a
new
revelation,
development.
a
And
new
what,
development within the last 4 hours.
and what is that?
And the new development is two of Trump's appointed judges has stopped the Trump administration for stopping food stamps.
Yay, we got it. That's an audible clap.
So now here is where we're happy, but we still have to be cautious.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you
Cautiously
why.
optimistic.
Right. Even though both judges, well, one was a Trump appointee, the other one was an Obama appointee. Okay, so we have to still be very, very cautious though, and the reason being because we have a president that don't necessarily follow laws and injunctions. Trump's people have said that they are going to appeal it, appeal the decision, and if the decision gets appealed before 12 o'clock, food stamps will not go out. So we know that cruelty is the point, right? We know that cruelty is the point.
And the thing about it is, when you decide to be cruel, you're not cruel with Russia.
Right.
You're not cruel with North Korea.
Right.
You're cruel to your own people, many of whom voted for you.
Right.
Many of whom could be your grandchildren or great grandchildren. Imagine a grandchild of yours, Mr. President, not being able to eat and crying relentlessly because they're hungry.
And I appreciate that sentiment that you gave out to him.
What's that?
The sentiment that you just gave out.
Which
You know,
was,
put yourself in somebody else's shoes. What if
Yeah.
this was your grandchild?
yeah,
The point is, none of that matters to him. Okay? None of that matters to him.
but I'll say this, Rebecca.
We're not dealing with a person who has compassion or empathy
But
for other
the
people.
thing about it is, let me tell you what I've seen a little bit of a crack in within the last 24 hours. I've seen some actual senators on the opposite side of the aisle
Mhm.
say, you know what, this is not right. We got to figure this out. We've got to figure this out. There's got to be something that is done so that people eat. Even though there may not be compassion coming from the top, all of those senators, all of those Congress people, they've got grandchildren.
They do.
You know?
But to appeal to Trump's morality and his greater sense of community, he doesn't have that.
Yeah,
So, that's like speaking to this wall right here.
you're right.
He's not going to respond to that. He doesn't care.
Yes,
Compassion and empathy has missed him
yes,
30,000 miles ago.
absolutely. You're right.
So And I think that's where we are in leadership as a nation,
Yeah.
right?
You're right.
I
You're
heard a
absolutely
journalist
right.
say never in the 200 plus years, almost 250 years that America has been a country,
Right.
has a president starved,
His own people.
intentionally starved. And let me
Yes.
use this word intentionally, right?
Yeah.
Because the government has the money
Right.
to distribute the funds for SNAP.
Or they can be reallocated from something else.
Right.
Yes.
But no, they have a discretionary
Right.
fund
Right.
for that. They don't
Absolutely.
have to pull the money from anywhere else. They
Right.
have the money.
Right.
He wants tax breaks. And mind you, he's doing this for two reasons. He wants tax breaks for multimillionaires and billionaires. And he's doing everything he can do to distract from the Epstein files. Let's
Yeah.
be real clear about what his motivation is.
Right.
So even if that means people starve, even if that means that people go without,
Right.
even if that means that people are in line, and I get that people are trying to appeal to his sense of empathy and all of that,
I think
but
it's gone
he
beyond.
does not have it.
But the thing about it is, Rebecca, you are absolutely right. And I think it's gone beyond that. I think people realize exactly the type of two-headed monster we're dealing with.
Right.
Okay. No pun intended, the
Right.
kind of two-headed monster that we're dealing with. And they've decided, and for it to come to this, for people to grow up here and say, absolutely not, we're not going to let this manifest.
Right.
When I was driving over here today, ladies and gentlemen, I started thinking about something, and I remember when I was 15 years old, 16 years old, and Rebecca, I was, contemplating in a couple of years going away to college and thinking about what I wanted to do. And I remember when I went to Miss Texas for the first time, Rebecca, and the interviewer asked me, I think it was Bob Eubanks from the Newlywed Game. He said,
Is he still living?
no, he's dead.
Okay.
But God rest his soul. But he said, what are your plans? And I said, I want to be a state legislator.
Aw.
Yes, I did. And, never thinking that I would see a time in history when when to be in that position was such a really vital place to be, because it could literally mean the difference between life and death. Now, we've got a situation here in Texas where we've got someone who was ready, willing, and able
Right.
to follow suit exactly behind what's being done.
Right.
And you know what? You can't tell me for a minute now. We saw all of these food pantries, Rebecca, gear up. And they had to pull out all the stops and be open for the last 72 hours, trying to get in donations and trying to get in things so that they can feed people.
Right.
We saw them scrambling. If food pantries have it, then our reserves have it here in Texas.
It's
Yes.
like I said, cruelty is the point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. I don't get my way, so I'm gonna do everything in my power to get my way, even if that means taking your basic
Necessities.
human what's the
Subsistence.
Yeah, sustenance in order
Sustenance.
to survive.
Yeah.
Right, which is food. And what broke my heart this week with the American people, and I know you look at the glass half full, Crystal.
Yeah, I try to.
But what broke my
I try to.
heart this past week, I expect Trump's idiocy to reign supreme. That's just who he is. This is the same person he's been for 79 years. He ain't changing.
Okay.
But what broke my heart, and which I'm not surprised by, I was surprised about the people who were making fun of the people that was less fortunate. All up and down my Facebook, all up and down. And I'm not talking about my personal timeline, just looking at videos and stuff like that.
You got to tell me what was being said.
People were celebrating other people not getting food. It was a group of men, specifically, that was celebrating women not being able to feed their children because they were talking about, now where's all of this Miss Independent stuff now?
You're kidding. You're kidding.
Where's this Miss All Independent stuff now? Fellas, they getting ready to be nice in these streets now because they can't feed their children. The
Oh,
daddy
that's-
government is they took their main source away. So fellas, they gonna be nice now. I bet you now when they say you smile, they'll smile because they gonna want that just but that's
Well, you
there
know,
wasn't isolated videos. It was other people
Yeah.
saying, well, where's October's food stamps? Like, you don't work, you don't do anything. So where's October? So, well, I'm glad the government is taking their food stamps away because they're taking away from hardworking people.
well,
It was just a
here's-
lot of
here's the thing, Rebecca. And I work every day.
right.
You work every day. We're teachers. We probably have some of the hardest jobs out there. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I have the mothers of some of my students who come in, and some of them have been widows, and they're young mothers.
Right.
Okay. Some of them, in particular, one of them has been a widow since she was 29 years old. And she is working two jobs and still trying to be the good mom that gets home and tries to do homework with the kids, who does things with them on weekends, who allows them to try to be in extracurricular activities and show them the right direction to go in as a mother. My mother was a widow at 36 years old.
Right.
And my mother never remarried. Thank God that she had the type of job where she was able to sustain us without the assistance of anyone. But we knew plenty of people in our neighborhood, plenty of people we went to church with who were not in that position.
And so that broke my heart this week
Absolutely.
that so many people don't have empathy for their fellow man. And one video that I watched this week, and
Yeah.
it was so true. One woman said that if you are not a millionaire,
Yeah.
and not just a 1 millionaire, 2 millionaire,
Right.
if you're not a multi-millionaire or billionaire, everybody is one check away from being homeless.
That's right.
One check away from not having food.
Yeah.
Nobody, and I don't care how much, unless you're a multi-millionaire or billionaire, you are literally one check away or
One or two.
checks away from being out on the street, from being homeless, from not having, right? So we need to exercise compassion because you never know what somebody is going through.
And you know what? Here's the thing. People don't realize how quickly things can happen, Rebecca. And one check away from not being able to sustain yourself could be a car accident.
Yeah.
One check away could be a catastrophic illness. One check away
It could be a natural
could be
disaster.
a natural disaster. And you never imagine yourself in someone's shoes until you're walking in someone's shoes. So all that we're saying on that note, ladies and gentlemen, is that it is if people are calling being woke, being compassionate, and being your brother's keeper, and being someone who can be turned to in the event of an emergency, then woke is probably a very good thing.
Yeah. But it just broke my heart the level of non-compassion
Right.
that people had for people who are struggling. And I agreed with another video that I saw. People don't need to explain to you their financial situation.
Right.
Everybody deserves to eat.
Yes.
Like, food is not a luxury.
Right.
That is something that you have to have in order to survive.
That's sustenance.
Right.
That's
So
sustenance.
I don't care I don't care if people are drug addicted. I don't care if people are on alcoholism. I don't care what people's situations are. Food is not a luxury. Just like I feel like healthcare is not a luxury. These are not privileges.
you know what, Rebecca? I'm gonna circle back around to this because when you and I worked together at a middle school that was a part of the largest school district in Texas, over in East Houston, every Thursday we had a food bank. Rebecca and I worked the food bank, and parents would line up around the school, and wait for that food bank to open. And we had a little store that our student council, shout out to Mr. Daniel Santos,
Yes.
and Mr. Stephen Deutsch, our student council and our wraparound specialist partnered with the Houston Food Bank and other entities around Houston, and those people were able to come over every Thursday and get groceries. Many of those people were newcomers, and many of those people this started during COVID.
Right.
Many of those people had a disastrous situation and had lost jobs during COVID. But nothing made me feel better. Nothing made me feel better than to be able to stock those people's baskets. They came with their own little baskets and carts, and they got groceries. And
And even the ones that didn't have baskets, I know personally, I went and found bags.
yeah, we found bags, we found boxes, because some people, and there were no pre-qualifications. Some people just showed up, and you could tell these people really appreciated it, and they really, really needed it.
Yeah.
And I was glad to be able to do it. Rebecca had some pictures of me scooping rice out of the rice box, or bean out of the bean box, and handing out canned goods. But to be able, what a good feeling it is to be able to actually help someone and know that a meal is going to be on the table at night.
When can we lose our humanity? Like,
Yeah.
when can we lose our humanity? Like, how is it that we are literally sitting debating about people eating? Like, how did we get
Well,
here?
let me tell you how we got here. And we can kind of talk about this point. We may agree, we may disagree on it, but I believe we got here when we got a figurehead that made us feel confident and okay in our darker side, and being able to show our darker side, the darker side of humanity. The darker side of humanity is jealousy. Darker side of humanity is contempt. The darker side of humanity is selfishness. And when we got someone 8 years ago, right?
Yeah.
At the very top, who was filled with these things and who said, I can't wait till I have a chance to take revenge on people. And this is coming from the top.
And he literally said he hated one half of America. I mean, he said that with strongly and passionately. He said there is a segment of people that I hate, Democrats and liberals. I hate them. And if I can punish them to the point they're suffering, I'll gladly do it.
And you know what? That is the recipe for the downfall of a nation. That's a recipe, especially when you have half of your nation that fit squarely into that category. That's the recipe for a downfall of a nation. And, I hope that Americans on some level at this place that we've come to right now can see and understand that to have a country that even has that on their brain right now, not being able to eat tomorrow, November 1st, because their president would withhold food from them, is a place that I think that none of our presidents who are surviving, even any of the ones who have died within the last 10 years, would ever feel that.
No president, since the SNAP benefits became available, no president ever, and we've had some racist presidents, and they still fed people,
right?
Because food is not up for debate. It is not up for debate. It's not up for discussion. Food is what people need for their daily survival. That's not up for debate.
And guys, here's the thing. I don't know if enough people realize this. And I think about this all the time. I think about it all the time, Rebecca. But we live in a nation. We live in a world, a global society now that someone who is in North Korea, someone who is in South Korea, someone in China, someone in Russia, someone in the UK could be watching us right now. Meaning that people are watching America in a position where it looks like there's the stability is not there, like it could be falling apart. And don't think for 1 minute that these people who have always loathed American values, American people, would jump at the opportunity to be able to come in and pounce on a situation when it's at its most vulnerable.
Yeah. I just that I had to bring it up because that was just super disturbing to
Right.
me. It was just really, really, really disturbing to me that we have a segment of people, and we even have some politicians to co-sign the not compassion.
Well, and here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes I was reluctant. I used to be reluctant to say this, but I think that it's a time such as this that we've got to be extremely verbal and extremely vocal about what is our passion and what is our heart and what we truly believe to be true and correct. And that is, we've got a country whereby it will never, ever, ever be like it was 20 years ago,
Right.
50 years ago, 75 years ago, 100, 150 years ago. That's not the nature of time. Time goes forward. Time does not go backwards. And instead of loathing what this country is and what it's becoming because of the face of the country, instead of loathing this, why are we not embracing everything about this country that could make it truly the most powerful, diverse, economically free country in the world? And that is going to be all of the different attributes that the different people with different life experiences bring to the table. That's what's going to make America great.
Right.
Everyone having the opportunity to come together, everyone having the opportunity to reach their pinnacle, their intellectual pinnacle of success.
Right.
Thereby creating opportunities for others, thereby creating a stronger economy, creating new entrepreneurs, new millionaires and billionaires, to have new ones that come on the horizon. That does not take anything away
But I think
from the ones who were established. It doesn't.
I think a lot of Americans, and we have to, like you said, we have to be honest with ourselves in a lot of situations.
Yes,
I think a lot of Americans feel that it's a zero-sum game.
I understand.
So if I have and you have, your half is going to take away from my half.
But the thing about it is, Rebecca, that is not mathematically correct. That is not.
But I don't care. That's the thing.
Well, and the
I
thing,
don't. I see what I know where you're getting at because we've had this discussion.
absolutely.
But the mentality is I don't care. I don't want you to have it. If I have it, there's no reason you should have it. So
So you would rather expend all of your energy on keeping me from having what I am struggling and building to get, other than going forward in what you are doing to make what you have greater.
yes.
This I do believe. Let me tell you what I do believe.
That's the simple answer. Yes.
And you know what? Thank God that we have young brains that are coming along that do not buy into that theory at all. Okay? Thank God that we have young people coming along who have elected to place themselves in situations where they're exposed to people from all over the world.
What do you think Project 2025 was?
Well,
Project 2025 was a plan to keep people from having. That's in the plan
Mhm.
to keep people from having. If you don't look like this, then you're not entitled to that.
But Rebecca,
Whatever that
here's,
is.
but here's the thing. History will show you, and physics will show you that you cannot stop. If you jump in front of a moving train, what's going to happen to you?
It'll run
Not
over
the train.
It'll run over you.
No, it will annihilate you.
Right. I don't care though. if I can put a pause, if I can stop, if I can throw my body on the line to keep you from having it, God dog it, that ain't what I want to say, but God dog it, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Well, you know what?
And that's what's happening in America, and that's why America is in the position that it's in.
But you know what? I think it's come to a point like this. I think a lot of people who 2 years ago, before we were in this situation, who thought that this would be a great thing, that this particular situation that we're in now would be a great thing. It has completely turned over on them.
Yeah.
It's completely turned over on their families and their businesses and culture as a whole, education, everything. It's completely turned over.
Right. And that's the thing. Because we don't live in a homogenized society,
Right.
A lot of the things that once happened in America would affect one group and would not affect the other one.
But it's affecting everyone.
But now it's affecting everyone, and I think that's where the shock factor comes in.
Right.
Because this
You're
was
seeing
not
the faces. That's
right.
right.
This
People
is
imagine
not
the faces to look a
right.
different way.
Right.
Yeah.
This was not supposed to happen to me.
Right.
This was not supposed to be, a thing that has happened to me. This was supposed to happen to somebody else. God, why is this not happening to other people? Because this was never supposed to happen
Yeah.
to me and mine, right? But that's what I'm saying. And you still have people who are in positions of power. You still have people who are in
Right.
positions of extreme wealth who still feel like this is a zero-sum game. You can't argue with that fact. You can't dispute that fact because they're putting it on display every single day. And they are working time and overtime to make sure that the zero-sum game play out. Now, will they be successful? You and I both know they won't.
They won't.
History
They
is not on their side.
Yes.
But God dog it, they still working themselves into oblivion to make sure that zero-sum game stays in place.
Well, you know what? Lisa has a comment here. Lisa says, but he's also hurting his own. But you know what? The thing about a sociopath, okay? When someone is a sociopath, they cannot feel the hurt and the pain of others. So it's almost like it doesn't matter. But I don't believe, let me tell you what I truly don't believe. I don't believe we have an entire Senate full of sociopaths. I don't. But I do believe we have a Senate that is, I never imagined I would say this, but it's filled with cowards.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, if they would stand up in the right numbers against this, that train could not move forward.
And here's the problem with that. Because again, we're still talking about this zero-sum game.
Right.
Those seats, and you and I talk about it all the time, and I guess you could never understand it. And I keep telling you, Crystal, you can't understand it because you don't have a power dynamic problem, right?
Okay.
And what I mean by that is power doesn't mean anything to you. If you're not doing power, if you don't have, Crystal is the type of person.
I do what I do because
For
my heart
right,
tells
for
me to
other
do
people.
that. Yeah.
You'll use your power, whatever power you have, to enrich other people's lives. That's you.
That's what the good book says.
Right.
That's what the
Right.
good book says.
And,
Yeah.
and I'm saying that as because Crystal is just this type of person. She's gonna use whatever power, she's gonna use whatever privilege she has to make other people's lives better. That's Crystal all day long, But you have a group of people that don't see power and privilege like that. They see power and privilege. I need to preserve mine.
And you know, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Rebecca, you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. You have got to, for somebody like me, for someone like me, I've got to mentally remove myself from the perspective that everybody wants to do the right thing.
Exactly.
And you know, that's hard for me because I always want to see the best in people.
Right.
But to have to say that there are some people out there who do not necessarily want the best for me,
Right.
who do not want to see other people thrive and prosper, that's a hard pill for me to swallow.
Right.
I mean, I know it is a realistic pill.
And let me say this. That's on both sides of the aisle.
Oh
Right?
yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
not just one or the other. It's on both sides of the aisle. Because for the life of me, I don't understand. One congressman who I deeply respect, from Washington D.C.,
Mhm.
she just got diagnosed with dementia.
Yeah.
She's on my side of the aisle.
Right.
She just got diagnosed with dementia at 88 years old.
Yeah.
She's 88, and her name is Barbara Holmes Norton. It's in the papers.
Right.
It's everywhere. She's representative out of DC.
Right.
She is running for a 23rd term.
No. Wow.
She
Wow.
just got her diagnosis 2 months ago. They made it public.
Yeah.
And she's 88.
Right.
And instead of saying, you know what, let me just go. She's been there for 23 years. Okay. And very one of the second most powerful Black woman in Congress. She was also a hell of a fundraiser.
Right.
Her and Sheila were like the two top fundraisers for the Democratic Party. Backbone Black women. She's running again for a 23rd term.
And you know what? Here's the thing. Here's the thing about
How? So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Everybody, and a lot of people don't know, with those seats comes a lot of power, privilege, and prestige. It's not just going to work on the American people's behalf. We talking about, and some of the privileges that they have in Congress is the frequent flyer miles. They can fly anywhere in the world practically for free. No, literally, this is like their golden package as Congress people. Not to mention their $147,000 a year salaries. Okay, they have a whole, plus they have a platinum health care plan. So they have a platinum health care plan. They also
So what you're saying,
have
Rebecca,
a platinum retirement plan.
so what you're saying to me, Rebecca, is that all good intentions may have been at the forefront
Right,
when they got there,
right,
but over time, the cushiness
of the job.
of being there may have clouded their decision making in terms of when it's really prudent to go ahead and hand the gavel.
Right, because
Yeah.
in 4 years as a congressperson, you can be a millionaire. In 2 years as a senator, you can be a millionaire. And then all of the benefit perks that you have in between there. So people, we look at it, oh, why didn't they just go home?
Right.
But you don't understand what they're giving up when they lose these seats.
Right.
So, like Crystal said, the intention may have started out wonderful,
Right.
great, right? Not to mention student loans that get paid off.
Yeah.
Not to mention, so they have so many great benefits.
Right.
In addition to being on TV all the time, being recognized, being treated as a celebrity. So that's hard to give up. If you've been living this life for 6, 10, 12, 13, 15, 20, 30 years, that's hard to give up.
Now, I do want to say this because I believe that this disclaimer is very important. You have some people who have been there for a long time, but who have the heart of a giver, who have the heart of a fighter.
Oh, of course.
You know, I'm not sure how old Bernie is. Okay.
He's 80. 3, 4.
Okay. I mean, but you've got people who still want to get out there in the trenches and do what is important
Of
to
course.
do.
Now let me say
Yeah,
that.
you gotta give people their.
No. What I was trying to explain
Mhm.
is why a lot of senators and congressmen have a hard time giving up those seats, right?
Yeah,
Even when they're too quote unquote old to do the job.
right.
Even with Nancy Pelosi,
Yeah.
like, you know, she gave up her speakership, but Nancy is still in the trenches. Maxine
Right,
Waters is
right,
still in the trenches.
right.
So you have people that are still in. That's not the point I was making.
Absolutely.
The point that I was making for the general public.
And I knew that, but I wanted you to clarify that for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point that I was making for the general public, there's a reason why that these people are having a hard time giving up these seats. A lot of these people went into Congress dirt poor, but they're leaving multi-millionaires. You know, so I can't honestly say that I would be willing to give that up either.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna tell you something because when I decided to run for state representative, I told Rebecca this, and maybe this isn't the most prudent thing to share, but I'm gonna share it, and because it's me and it's true. I said, Rebecca, when I win this seat, when you gotta speak things into existence, when I win this seat, I am going to represent the people that I came to represent to the best of my ability. And if there is anything that goes against what my own morals and my own convictions are within me, I can't go against that.
Right.
So that means it's time for me to pass the baton. That may be 10 years, that may be 2 years.
Right.
But I look at it like this. If that's the case, then God has something else for me.
Right.
And I have no problem with that. That is absolutely fine. I'm not a career politician. Never wanted to be a career politician. I wanted to be someone who made a difference.
Right.
But this is the way that I know that I can be most effective right now. And especially with education on the chopping block.
Exactly.
Especially with education on the chopping block.
But like I said, the reason I was giving that out is because I know a lot of people out in the public, if you're not in the political world or familiar with the political world, you don't understand why things work the way they do.
Yeah.
This is why people have a hard time giving up their positions, is because with those responsibilities comes power, prestige, and influence. And it's just what it is, right?
Let's talk about this for a minute, Rebecca, because this is something else. We haven't really turned this corner yet, but this is something else that's on the chopping block, and that is the Affordable Health Care Act.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I believe the quote has been 40 million people will lose access to health care. Can you imagine having to go into an emergency room when you are so sick, that you can't even stand anymore, and having to, at that point, go into an emergency room and sit maybe 6, 7, 10 hours to be seen by an emergency room physician, and then maybe because there is not enough money to be able to perform a procedure that you may need or use, being given pain medicine to basically go home and die.
Yeah.
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 The ability to have now this I know is the case. Every other civilized nation in this world has universal health care. Okay? And universal health care is something, why would anybody, I can't wrap my mind around the fact that anyone would want to see the guy next to them sick and die of something that was curable. To see a woman over here who is unable to have children, not to be able to get the procedures that she needs, maybe a simple procedure to allow her to do that. What would make my heart jump and beat at someone else's misery like that?
And
I don't get it.
we're talking about cruelty being the point, right? So y'all president just said he's bringing medical debt back. And he wants medical debt, and he's already signed this executive order. He has signed it back in February. So what does that mean? Medical debt. Well, the Biden administration, for people who love to say Biden didn't do nothing for people,
Yeah.
the Biden administration, and it started under Obama, but Biden like cleared it
Right.
altogether. So the Biden administration basically said, and that was one of the first pieces of legislations that he signed,
Right.
said that your medical debt should not affect credit. Why?
Right.
Because people were in debt behind medical bills.
Right.
Uh, you're talking about $100,000, $200,000, $400,000.
And if it affects your credit, you can't necessarily get a job that's the type of job that you need to get to be able to pay that medical bill.
Right. So, so he says, you know what? We don't even want the
Credit reporting agencies.
we don't even want the credit reporting agencies reporting your medical. We don't even want it on the credit report
Right.
at all. So that was one big help, and it was a relief to millions of Americans because they were going in crushing debt
Yeah.
behind heart surgeries, knee surgery, even basic operations.
Right.
Delivering babies and was costing.
And the thing about it is, Rebecca, also what it did under those administrations, it brought the procedures that were the life-saving procedures down to a rate where when it was negotiated, a reasonable rate, it was negotiated. So it wasn't a procedure or an operation that cost $100,000 on the table.
Right.
When it's really a $20,000 operation.
And let's go back to the ACA, which is the Affordable Health Care, which better known as Obamacare.
Yeah.
So the Affordable Care. Okay. President Obama had done several interviews on why healthcare was his main priority. He said himself, 3 or 4 days before his mom passed away in the hospital, you know what she was doing? Instead of spending time, her last days with her children, instead of bonding with her grandchildren and her daughter-in-law and son-in-law,
Right.
you know what she was doing? She was on the phone arguing with insurance companies.
Right.
And he said, because him and Michelle are lawyers,
Right.
they threatening lawsuits on the
Right.
phone
Right.
3 or 4 days before his mother passed away. He never got to tell his mother goodbye properly because him and his wife were arguing with insurance companies
Right.
about what they will not pay for and what they would pay for. And arguing about future care because they thought she had a little bit longer than what she did.
Right.
Arguing about
And that probably stressed her out to the point where she just kind of gave up.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it was personal for him because he had experienced that with him and Michelle being the and they were well off.
Right.
Still at this particular time of his mother dying.
Right.
They were very well off. And they were still arguing
Yeah.
with insurance companies. And they were still going to war with insurance companies.
But you know what? It's not, a point of pride. It should be a point of pride to be able to at least have an investigative council to look in to see exactly how these countries with universal health care are able to maneuver it. Because Rebecca, I know that a lot of it has to do with preventative care. A lot of these people don't find themselves in the hospital having to have these life-saving procedures because preventative care is so much a part of the universal health care system.
But I think America knows how to do it. Because you can't tell me that countries like China and Japan and Vietnam,
Yeah.
you can't tell me countries like that can do free healthcare. And the United States, who's supposed to be the superpower of the world, can't get it right. No, the United States is in everybody's back pocket. You have the pharmaceutical companies making a killing. You have the insurance companies, my God. That's what they're making a killing on healthcare.
Right.
You have all of these people that's making, and I'm not by no means a conspiracy theorist, but you have all of these people that's making top dollar off of people being sick.
Right.
So it's not, and we all know that we live in a country that exacerbates corporate greed. This is just where we live. So no, why? And now the debt collectors are back in the game because
Right.
at first they were out completely.
Right.
Well, Trump has eroded that because evil is the point.
Right.
Right? So now the debt collectors are back in the game. So you had debt collectors making big time money off of people. You had the insurance companies making big time money. You got the pharmaceutical companies
Right.
making, and the hospitals and the doctors and the nurses were only seeing partial
Oh
amounts
yeah. Oh yeah.
of the
They were
money.
getting the little scraps.
They're getting the scraps. So that's, again, it's the cruelty and the greed that's the point.
Now, Rebecca, you know what? We're coming to where we are close to being out of time, but you got to speak to this because you've experienced this in your own family. The next lifeline that's being hit through this administration at this point in time is Medicaid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Medicaid helps those people who may have illnesses and sicknesses that aren't covered, who may not be able to afford insurance or who need supplemental insurance.
Right.
In the worst way, people with disabilities, little kids, the most vulnerable people. Okay, senior adults who have disabling conditions that need that supplemental, that's being taken. So what are we actually trying to do?
Again, y'all gonna hear me say this throughout. The cruelty is the point, right? And it's sad that these are the times that we're living in. So, again, Trump is only looking out for two groups of people: the multimillionaires and the billionaires.
Right.
So you have to ask yourself. Candace was here a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she said something.
And she'll be back.
And
Yeah.
she said something that was so poignant. Follow the money.
Right.
Anytime Trump is trying to defund something or stop something, somebody else is getting the top dollar for whatever he's defunding. So let's go back for the SNAP benefits. Who was making the money for the SNAP benefits?
Right.
Who was benefiting from SNAP benefits that was being cut?
Right.
The millionaires and billionaires.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because what is he trying to do? He's trying to pass these large tax cuts for them, trying to cut the capital gains tax. He's trying to cut all of these other taxes, these regulatory taxes. He's trying to erode these caps
Yeah.
on all of these companies that are because that means more money in their own pocket.
Right.
Right? So again, it's always follow the money. When he decides that SNAP benefits, Medicare and Medicaid is crippling, one of the things that's crippling a lot of the insurance companies because they're paying more money out for procedures because more people are on Medicaid and Medicare.
Right.
So what does he do with that? He said, well, let's just cut it out. Who was benefiting from that? The insurance companies. Who was benefiting from that? The pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
Who was benefiting from that? Hospital administrators.
Right.
Who was benefiting from that? The investors who invest in these products at the hospitals. You have to look at the totality of it all.
Right.
So when he's doing those type of things, it's affecting the billionaires and billionaires' bottom line. And we
Absolutely.
can't have their bottom line
Yeah.
affected. So I will take from you, I will starve you, I will kill you so they can have an abundance of their bottom line at the expense of you.
And you know what, Rebecca? And it all comes from this type of philosophy. It's so important for me to feel that I am at the top and you are below me.
Right.
I could care less who is around me. I am going to think about the things that I need to do to make myself the very best that I can be. If this person goes to this degree, to their pinnacle, I'm happy for them. Okay? If this person decides they want to do this at this level, I'm happy for them. What is it about the need? But you know what? I watched a documentary the other night about our president, and it talked about him growing up without that real love of a mom. Okay, because of the mother being emotionally unavailable,
Right.
not physically, because she definitely wanted to be there physically, but because
Because she was being abused.
yeah, and she had some mental illness too.
And she was being
Yes.
abused,
And
which was exacerbated the problem.
for a child at certain ages not to be able to have that type of bond with the mother, they said that it creates a detachment phenomenon.
And then his niece, Mary Trump,
Right,
who she has been giving the tea on her family since he ran
right,
the first time. She said she recalled an incident that her father, who was deceased,
right.
and he's been deceased for a while.
Yes,
She said she recalls a story that her father was telling her and her brother about one time when they were little boys. The dad was walking down the street, and a homeless man was on the street. And Trump's dad pretended to give the homeless man a $50 bill. Well, when the man reached out for the $50 bill, he snatched it back. He kicked the man and told the man, "Go get a goddamn job." That was his. And then he told his sons, "Don't be a pathetic waste of skin like this man." And he laughed and kept it moving, right? He laughed at the man. So she said, now her dad was heartbroken.
right,
Um, Her dad didn't think it was funny, but her Uncle Donald laughed, and laughed.
yeah,
And he said, "Okay, Daddy, this is how you treat homeless people. This is how they'll be treated from now on." But her father, who her
yeah.
dad,
Cried. Yeah,
and she said her dad was always the sensitive one.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely,
it broke his heart.
right,
And she said, and it was at that moment, at his age, and she said her dad was about 8 or 9, because her dad is the oldest.
yeah,
She said her dad was about 8 or 9.
yeah.
Trump was about 6.
Yeah,
And their other brother was like 4. He
Right.
didn't really understand what was going on.
right,
But she said that moment changed her dad's life forever,
right,
because she said he never wanted to be the man that his father was.
right.
But the opposite effect happened with
Donald,
Donald.
right,
That was the start, she believes, of his cruelty.
right.
And that was his lesson, to say that it's okay to treat people.
But you know what, Rebecca?
Cool.
You got to, first of all, if we're talking about, we there's a lot of conversation going on now about Christianity and what Christianity is and Christian nationalism and all of this, okay? Here's the thing. If Christianity, one of the basic tenets of Christianity is to love your fellow man
Right.
and be your brother's keeper, how do you feel that treating your fellow man this way is going to put you in a position where you have the favor of God?
Well, here's the thing.
Or does that just not matter?
It doesn't, because he told y'all himself that he ain't going to heaven, right? So, and he's also said that this is about as much heaven as he going to experience.
Wow.
So, because he knows this, guess what? You think he cares about making your life miserable? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because he already feels like, I'm going to hell anyway. So why not have fun on the ride down there?
But you know what? The thing about it is, to go to hell, that's eternal.
I know,
You only have, he's on borrowed time right now.
and that doesn't matter to him.
Wow.
Because
And that's profound. That's
when
profound.
you know that you are not going to see the gates of heaven,
Right.
you don't care about how you treat people.
But does everyone around you also not want to see the gates of heaven? Or are they so enamored with trying to make you happy? Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you this. My mother told me this a long time ago. We talk about this all the time, Rebecca. She said, If there is ever a job or a situation that you're in that makes you feel as though that you are losing your sense of well-being or sense of self or sense of having to sacrifice your ideology and the things that you know are right, she said, well, guess what? You were looking for a job when you found that one. So there's always going to be a job around the corner. But you got to be true to yourself.
But I
And,
think
you know, it's the right thing to do.
I think he has people around him who feels like he feels. You know,
And there are people who are that way. There
yeah,
are.
who feels they don't care. My dad has this saying that he got from one of his insurance clients. His insurance clients. That's why I know a little bit about insurance because my dad was an agent for 29 years. But he said, you know, he had one client to tell him, I don't care about the by and by, meaning heaven. I only
Right.
care about the here and now.
Okay.
Right. And you have people, and it's funny the way my dad says it is hilarious. But the message is a lot of people don't care about their soul salvation. They don't care about any of this. They just care about what's right in front of them.
Right.
And greed and power now. And that's what you have surrounding in the White House. You have people who are full of greed and power, and they don't care how it affects anybody else. They don't care about, and that's why I say trying to appeal to these people moral fiber. It's insane.
It's futile. Yes.
Yeah, that's the word I really want to use. Okay, it's futile to try to appeal to their moral high ground because they have no moral high ground. The moral high ground is greed and power and privilege. And as long as I can hold on to that, then bump your compassion and your empathy. Do you not know that these the people look at empathy, especially on that side of that,
As a weakness.
as a weakness,
I know that.
a moral failing?
Yeah.
I don't think people hear what I'm saying.
Right.
You have people on one side of the aisle that think that empathy is a moral failing.
And you know what, Rebecca? The thing about it is, for those people who, and you know, I hate to say, well, you know, is this what you wanted? Did you get what you wanted? I don't want to say that, but I want to say this. This pattern has been a pattern for years. It didn't just happen
Right.
with the election into the presidency. Think about the casinos. I'll never forget the day that I watched Good Morning America. And in Atlantic City, the workers going up to the door of that Trump casino
Mm-hmm.
in Atlantic City, and they were shaking the door, and they were talking about renovations that were being done or some building that was being done on that, and the contractors not being paid, and the people couldn't get in to go to work. No one said a word.
Right.
They just locked the building. No one got back paid. People were stiffed. No one, it didn't matter if people's families ate. It didn't matter that people were on the end cycle of receiving their paycheck. That door was closed, no letter sent out, no apology, no nothing.
But look what's happening now. Fast forward, because history repeats itself, right? This is what I teach my kids from the time they step in their classroom until the day they leave.
Yeah.
That history definitely repeats itself.
Right.
It's simple.
If you don't address issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Cyclical. There we go. Couldn't get it out. Okay. Now, what's happening now with the government shutdown?
Yeah.
The government has shut down, and now he's saying that none of these people, from the air traffic controllers on down,
That's
none
right.
of these people are going to get back pay. These people are going to work for free.
Oh, he said that the people must work for free. Well, you know what? And people are calling the bluff on that.
Right.
People
The
are saying
military,
absolutely.
The
Yeah.
military, all of these
Yeah.
soldiers and stuff like that, these people are going to work for free. And
Because I said so.
right. And he said there will not be any back pay. Right? So you have air traffic controllers, you have TSA, and not just them. You have other government officials, federal government workers who are without checks right now, trying to figure out
How are they going to pay their mortgage?
oh, and Crystal, a lot of them have already confessed they got paid today, and it was $0 on their paychecks.
And you know what? People need to start posting those. People need to start posting those. You know, that is a cruel SOB. I hate to say that. I don't like to use swear words, but that's a cruel, cruel excuse for a human to do that. So I'm not just telling you that. I'm showing you that I can send you a paycheck with zero on it. You know, I wish that I implore someone out there who got a check like that
Well,
to
it's
post that,
people
to post that online. I want to see that.
and they've gotten checks
Yeah.
back, and it's 000. Like, why? But again, this is where we are, right?
Yeah.
This is where, and I personally try to warn people. Like, I cried the day that, and this was the first time I ever cried over an election. I was pissed the first time Trump won. The second time I shared tears
She did.
when Trump won. And a lot of people thought I was being dramatic. But I'm a history teacher.
Yeah.
I study history. And I knew, and I told people, I said that Trump is going to do things to this country that none of us have never seen and experienced. And I don't think that people understand the gravity of what's to come. Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody thought I was overreacting. Everybody thought I was bitter because Kamala didn't win. But I knew this was coming,
Right.
because I knew Trump's track record. I knew that everything, and then the things that he would say when he was campaigning, like, I'm going to seek revenge.
Yeah.
I'm going after my people. Like, I'm going after the people who got me. I'm going to make sure that everybody pays for the hell I've been through since I left office.
Right.
I knew that none of people's best interest was going to be at heart.
Right.
And that was another thing throughout. I'm going to make the Democrats pay.
Instead of worrying about the issues at hand in this country, there's so many things that need to be addressed. There are so many ways. Imagine the effort that has been spent on trying to make people hurt and trying to go back and hurt people that could have been filtered in a productive way. Think about how much money and energy that people have been given jobs to try to produce trials and different kinds of things to try to hurt the enemies. Think about how much American taxpayer money that is going to take to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
he has, like I said, Trump has gone far and beyond. He's gone far and beyond to make people's lives miserable. And he's literally staying up to 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning with
figuring out ways to
make people's lives. He is having valid crash out. I'm not saying valid crash outs because that's stupid. But he's literally crashing out on what. Do you not know, once the judge handed out their verdict on the SNAP benefits, he's already said we're getting ready to appeal it.
He didn't even think, wait a minute, did I go too far?
No. He was like, we got to get the appeal in before 12 o'clock so they don't get the benefits. I just want people to understand what we're dealing with, right? We are dealing with a man who, as cruel as he can be, this is what he's doing. And everybody is demanding these Epstein files.
Right.
We found out today, breaking news, that it's worse than what people had imagined.
Absolutely. And people are relentless. Now people really want to know. Now the people who actually supported him, who have seen the repercussions of how he really feels about Americans, just regular Americans. You know, they stood behind, how must that feel to know that you stood behind someone and you believed that they had your best interest at heart and you defended them. And then now your benefits are cut off. Now your health care is in jeopardy of being cut off. Now your child's Medicaid, your child who may be autistic, who gets Medicaid, it's going to be cut off.
Also,
You can't pay your mortgage.
for the
Yeah.
Affordable Care Act, do you know the subsidies? I think the subsidies expire tomorrow too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The subsidies are getting ready to go up 172%.
But you know, the people, let me say this, the people who supported this, and senators, I'm talking to you, okay? The people who stood behind this and let this happen, I hope that it feels, make sure that you're feeling good right now, because you're writing your own ticket out.
Mm-hmm.
You're writing your own ticket out. And the thing about it is, with it being such an obvious positioning of not caring about people, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for people who believe like you do to get back in there once you're gone. But you are writing that ticket. You know, we've had a history in this country of having differences of opinion and being able to come together and sit at a table and work those out and being the strongest nation in the world. We've had a history of that. But, you know, for the people who decided that they wanted to fold their arms and puff up their cheeks and go to that corner and everybody get together and try to be as mean as possible and not work with anybody. Well, you know, the chickens are coming home to roost. What can I say? Yeah.
I mean, we're. I've just never seen no shit. I'm sorry, Crystal, but I've just never seen no shit like this in all the days of my life, right? But I knew this was coming down the pike. I knew what was coming down the pike because I knew the commander in chief's history,
Right.
right? I knew what was coming down the pike because there's certain people who never need to see power,
Right.
and he's one of them, right? I knew what was getting ready to take place.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate, and I hate it to be right. Crystal, I revel in being right all the time.
She does. She likes to be right.
But this time, I wished I was dead wrong. And I would have paid my left and right hand to be dead wrong.
And you know what? Here's the thing, Rebecca, and then we're gonna wrap it up. And we had, you know, Tiffany was gonna come on tonight because wow, Tiffany has got some really great observations. The word mortician. Tiffany is a nationally known poet, and she has 2 nonprofit organizations where she actually donates toiletries to people who are in need.
We got
And yes, we're going to bring her back. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty tonight and a scheduling problem, but we're going to bring Tiffany back because I want her to speak to some of this. Think about how some of these service organizations have had to try to gear up to fill that void of people not being able to get the basic necessities that they need.
right.
You know, and she's one of them. She's one of them. She has donated toiletries to countries all over the world and people in need everywhere. And to imagine, she said that she could not imagine that the bulk of what she is doing right now has got to go to people not even in the United States, but right here in Houston, because the need is so great. But guys, listen, Rebecca and I can talk forever. Next week, we have a guest that's coming on from over in the Southeast Houston district that I will be representing in District 131 area, who's going to talk about some of the things that are plaguing those people over there. I'm not going to tell anybody what I can do. You need to come in here and tell me what you need done.
Exactly.
And, you know, not enough people are saying that. What is it that you need? Because I'll tell you this much, those people who are over in Alief, who are in 131, those people who are in parts of Lower Westbury, those people who are over in parts of Meyerland, who are in 131. Everybody's needs are different. Everybody's needs are different. And we're going to bring in people from each one of those areas so that you can hear from the horse's mouth exactly what the needs are. But Rebecca, I'm going to pull this up again so that we can see it. There I am. Guys, you will begin seeing me out on the campaign trail in the next week or so. Yes. My name is Crystal Dillard, and I am a candidate for State Representative, Texas House District 131 here in
Yeah.
Houston, the district that I grew up in, that lived there all my life. Okay, and but listen, I am a public school teacher. I am a classroom teacher. I am in the trenches every day. I'm in there with the kids. I'm in there with the other teachers. I see what they go through. I see what administration goes through. I see and feel what it's like with education being on the chopping block.
And you know what the families are going through.
Absolutely.
Because the parents are attached to the kids.
Absolutely. And let me tell you this, and I'm going to do a shout out to Mauricio Vasquez. Mauricio, nothing made me feel better. You remember, Rebecca, nothing made me feel better or more like I had made a difference than when I was out on the campaign trail the last time. And one of my students came up behind me and he said, Miss Dillard, Miss Dillard. I said, yes. He said, I know you don't remember me, but my name is Mauricio Vasquez and I'm running for judge right here in Houston. And I looked at him and you know, the eyes never change. The eyes never change. So I looked at him and I'm going to bring a picture on so I can put a picture up and show you guys that picture. But to know that what you're doing makes a difference, and to know that maybe in some small way, I helped him decide that there was no milestone that he could not reach. And that made me feel exceptional. That made me feel very, very good about that. Please go to my website. I'm going to have everything up so that you will know exactly how to donate to my campaign. Next week when we come on, Rebecca, we're going to be getting our volunteers together and getting them out and bringing them down for a campaign kickoff.
Woo!
Yes, right here in our office, guys. You're gonna love.
We've been working around the clock.
We have
this campaign kickoff together.
We have, but Crystal Dillard for Texas.com. That's my website. And I'm scrubbing that website right now, guys. So, you know, at the end of this weekend, you'll see a lot of new stuff up. So don't be too hard on me for that. Yes, ma'am.
Also, your branding.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find me. Please, please like me on Facebook and follow me on YouTube. Go to YouTube. There, I would love nothing more than for you to go through those podcasts, see exactly what I've been doing for the last 4 years, see the way I've been in the community for the last 4 years. Pull up some of those podcasts where we've had guests on here from all over Texas, but in episodes where we're really trying to affect people's lives and give people information about things that are going to be powerful in their lives. The Coalition for Barrier-Free Living came on a couple of years ago, and we're going to get them back in here soon. Guys, for people who have disabilities, there is nothing like being able to connect to an organization like the Coalition, because some of those people who are going to need some of those, who utilize a lot of those benefits that are being cut, you're going to need to be able to find resources to go to, you know, in order to sustain your needs. You know, information and knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, in every way, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everything that you have been for us, everything that you've been over the years, staying with us over the years, and helping us grow to where we've come to right now. But Rebecca, like we say every week, did I forget to say anything?
No, you told them where to go. You told them about your QR code. Did you tell them where to donate?
Absolutely. When you get to my website, you'll be able to donate on my website. Next week, we're going to have a QR code up. Okay. And the QR code was on the flyer, but we're going to have a QR code up, and there are going to be 3 different ways that you can donate to my campaign. Guys, you can't do this without funds. Can't do it without funds. But let me tell you this, I know how to make funds go a long way. Okay?
Yeah, so your funds will not be going to waste. I don't want to hear people saying, you know what, I don't know, because what if she don't do right and use my funds for her to go to the gallery and go shop? No, that's not what we're using your funds for.
And Rebecca knows that's not where I shop. We're gonna leave that. We're gonna leave that alone. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Please connect with us. please leave comments in that comment thread, and we will get back to you. We will comment on that. Teachers, we have got your back. Derek over at Fort Bend AFT, thank you so much for everything. And we're going to get you on here because we need your perspective more than anything. Teachers are going to be on the chopping block even more in December. So ladies and gentlemen, this is no joke now when it comes to education. Can you imagine having a bot in the room teaching your child? Okay.
That's where we're headed. I know a lot of y'all.
That's where a
want
lot of people want us to be headed. And technology is great. Don't get us wrong. We love technology, but we feel that the human experience coupled with technology is far greater and much more far reaching. Thank God for the great teachers that I have, because there are teachers that I still remember now that were some of my favorite people. But we don't ever need to have a situation whereby teachers are not in the classroom anymore and there is no human touch in the classroom with your students.
Right.
But ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back next week, and I'm going to be doing some, Rebecca tells me I need to do some live drops every day. So wherever I am, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be talking to you from wherever I am. It may be somewhere out on 131. Who knows?
And she's also going to
Yes.
tell you what a state representative does. So you guys will not have to keep asking her questions about, well, what do you, because I don't want to hear nothing about your traffic ticket. Like, I empathize, right? I do empathize, but she can't do nothing about your traffic ticket. Okay, that's a county issue, not a state issue.
May be able to do something in conjunction with the county and the city about the roads.
Right.
But not the ticket. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for everything. And Rebecca, like we say every week, we can do it. See you.